Hello mate and welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to talk about a bit different topic from the usual one, namely my progress into English language, and actually I am going to complain a bit about my English, particularly the British accent, which I'm trying to master, and I really want to share the critics that I've received, a bit my work, how do I learn the language and how difficult it is to me as a Bulgarian, of course, because being a Bulgarian, being actually a foreigner who's trying to master the British accent could be really exhausting, really difficult. So right now I haven't prepared anything. So what you're going to see is going to be, maybe my real English level, and I really hope that my performance in front of the camera is going to be good. First of all, I want to tell you that English has always been an interesting language for me, and it was driving my attention from since I was a kid, and since I started learning it at school in 5th grade. I really wanted to learn this language. However, I had a really hard time pronouncing the words and reading and writing and so forth at the beginning, because English spelling system was a complete nightmare for me, especially when I started learning Spanish maybe 4 years ago from the moment I started learning English, and everything was completely different for me. I think French resembles most to English spelling system because both languages are soft, so which means its writing system is completely different from reading. So it's a bit difficult from people whose native language, for instance, is hard and is pronounced and straightforward. And in my occasion, I'm Bulgarian. For that reason, it's a bit difficult. It was very difficult, like I said. I can't hide it. It was very difficult for me to get adapted to the English language. And 2 years ago, I decided really to pick myself up and to improve the language. And it wasn't so impossible as I thought earlier. However, I really faced all the problems with pronunciation, for instance, when I started with British English. I actually started maybe, 2 years ago, and started the same thing with the British. However, I think British English is way more difficult than normal English. And now you're gonna ask me, why did I decided to learn the British accent? I'm Bulgarian, so I don't need the British accent. I have to speak naturally. Have to speak in a normal English as everybody. And I really like to answer your question right now. I agree that the accent isn't the most important thing in a language, because even if your accent is bad, but your vocabulary and grammar structure are good, you're more likely to be understood by people without any problem. However, I consider the accent to be such a crucial point if you want to impress and potentially build truthfulness. For example, when you go to the United Kingdom and tell people you speak English, anybody's gonna be impressed, because almost everybody speaks English in the United Kingdom, of course. However, when you start speaking the language with the local accent and even the standard British English, you're more likely to drive attention toward you, because, very few people speak English in British English, and even the local accents, in this example, Cockney accent, Manchester accent, Liverpool accent, and so many other accents. The accent itself is a very difficult task to be completed, because you don't learn only the language, but also you learn the way of pronunciation, the way of speaking of the locals, which is very difficult, especially when you haven't lived in the country, trust me. But also, it's very respected by them, because, even if you try to speak in this way, I think, it's very respected, because they perfectly know how difficult is the accent, for my opinion. I think it personally. However, I really think that because, there are so many people in the world trying to do that, but unsuccessfully, because it's very difficult and they mostly give up. And according to my case, you perfectly know that I'm learning English alone by myself. And as a Bulgarian, I can tell you that it's even more difficult for me, because my language is hard, very hard, and English is very soft, like I said. And a bunch of sounds in British don't exist in my language, which contributes to the difficultness. I've watched a video related to an accent I can't remember. It was Liverpool or Manchester accent, when a bottle of water is pronounced like a bowl for. that's very it actually hits the top of difficultness, to be honest, and it's very interesting to get to know how to pronounce all that stuff. And about the critics, I can't hide that I've faced many critics. I've received many critics throughout my English learning process. Mainly because of my accent, because I really repeat, I often repeat, exaggerate, and so forth. And in one of my very previous Instagram reels, I was trying to speak in a British, to sound more British, to sound more naturally. However, it didn't work out, of course, and it turned out to be like a funny reel. So I received a bunch of hate comments about it, and it hit maybe 11k views, which is a record for my standards on social media for now. However, yeah, and 99% maybe they were from my flipping country. Yeah, there were some people who was trying to give me an advice, something which I'm really thankful for. However, like I said, the critics were a lot, and especially about the curious. I was pronouncing the word curious like curious, so I just got a lot of bullying about it. However, I can tell you that I don't give a fucking damn about it. I perfectly know that I can't speak English tremendously well. My accent isn't so good. However, I really try my best to do that, and for that reason, I can't give up. I'm completely aware of the fact that I'm not British, and I still can't speak with a British accent. However, I definitely can't give up. I don't give a fucking damn about the haters, because they're going to exist haters everywhere, and you just have to carry on. That's the most important thing. So in order to improve my British accent, I'm currently watching a lot of videos related to the accent and about topics I'm very interested in. So for instance, the history of Japan during the Edo period, when the peasants were scarcely managing to scrape by, I'm listening all that in British. The solar system, some traveling, and many other topics. Also, I really want to grasp in order my mind to accept the words, the standard British words that I use it mainly in the United Kingdom, and me to use them, in the daily conversations when I engage in conversation with people and so forth. So, I'm improving, and I think hopefully in the future I'm going to master very, very well this accent. So I'm quite aware of the fact that, and even throughout this video, I unconsciously have exaggerated some sentences, a couple of words maybe. So when I rewatch this video, I'd like to see my errors, and I'm going to fix them. For me, this is the right approach. In conclusion, even if you have a hard time while learning a foreign language or accent, my advice for you is to carry on, to just don't give up, because everybody whose accent is perfect actually, had to pass through this nightmare, had to pass through a lot of struggles until their accents, are perfect. So this is the right path, you're on the right path, so you don't have to give up. So if you like this video, share, subscribe, press the like button, and let me know in the comments below about the errors that I've made, about some exaggeration of course, in order to get better. I really hope that this video could serve you as a motivation in order to improve, even though when you have a hard time with languages, just don't worry, this is a part of the process. So thank you so much, and see you in the next video.